Brooklyn. And again, you can't jump on me on this because I've been with the Nets. I did say before the playoffs began, going into the playoffs, I didn't think they could win the championship without James Harden. And I thought they could get to the finals, but I thought they wouldn't be able to beat LeBron and AD. Kyrie and KD wouldn't beat LeBron and AD. Obviously, LeBron and AD are gone. And obviously, you see how the Nets have been playing without Harden. But I do think now, just looking at the landscape, I mean, Philly, which is having problems with Atlanta, and they start their game 2 in about 30 minutes.
And that was bad because you got 39 from Embiid, right, Chris, and you didn't even win that game. That's right. That's a bad loss.
I still think Philly wins the series. So are you thinking Atlanta now?
Well, after that game, first game at home, you know what I mean? It would be one thing if Embiid didn't play or he had 15 points. Chris in Atlanta won and he wasn't healthy. He played and produced. Well, I'm a little afraid of Atlanta for Philly. With Doc Rivers and the history, I'm just saying.
Because of Doc, you say. If Doc loses this series, Rob,
that's what I'm saying.
And Embiid's healthy, I mean, he's not going to get fired. But
it'll be bad.
My God, yeah, it will be. And you see the adjustments that Ty Lue made in that series with Dallas that Doc never made last year.
Is this on benching Patrick Beverly and saying, I don't care?
That took guts. That took guts. And Terrence Mann is, he played well. He's a good defensive player and he hustles. And so, yeah, I agree with you on that. But Brooklyn, Rob, and you mentioned the Philly series with Atlanta. I think you're seeing something in both of these series. And we could even go further throughout the league with Luka Doncic being MVP. I think, Rob, now more than ever, because the floor is so spread out and so spaced, I think skills, can you handle? Can you shoot? Can you create off the dribble? I think that's more important than ever. And I think size and toughness, while still important, don't get me wrong, they're not as significant as they used to be. Obviously, toughness, I mean, that's been taken out of the game because of the officiating, right? You can't send a message to anybody anymore. So that's taken out of the game. And Atlanta with Trae Young, and then they got a bunch of shooters, Bogdanovich and all these guys, their skill level is tough for Philly. And then in Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Rob, to me, the difference in skills is incredible. And because of the skills combined with Kevin Durant's height, he's got great height and skills. He and Kyrie are unguardable. And because of their lack of skills in Milwaukee, particularly Giannis, as great as he is, they don't have one guy that you give it to and just say, go get it. They know what you're going to do, big fella, but go get it. Giannis can do that when he gets to the rim, but outside of that, he can't do that. So to me, that's a huge difference in this series.
Originally, I know we had that conversation and you were talking about Harden, and I get it. Harden makes the journey, Chris, automatic or way easier.
Right.
But I always said that KD and Kyrie came together. They never had Harden in the plans. They believed that those two guys, and in the NBA, Chris, if you have two guys of that caliber, and of course you got to get play from role players, right? If you do that, you have a chance to win in the NBA and when they're playing like that. KD crossing over people. I mean, it's been 2 years since that ruptured Achilles, Chris. He looks spectacular. They're guarding him. He's making shots. Like, they're on him. He's just making shots.
I'll say this. Kevin Durant, I'm more impressed. And again, it's only one round plus two, right? So we got a long way to go.
We're not crowning anybody tonight. Okay,
but right now, I'm more impressed with Kevin Durant now than I was with him in Golden State.
Chris, on that, let me give you this. In the playoffs, Durant averaging 32 points on 55% shooting, including 50% from three. And
90% of his threes have been contested.
Right.
That's the most in the league.
And knocking them down. That's exactly right.
Well, Rob, Kevin Durant should shoot more threes. Because he's a great mid-range. Right. He's a great mid-range shooter.
Last night.
He could be putting up 9, 10 threes a game. And if he hits 4 or 5 of them, I mean, that's huge. He just doesn't shoot as many as he probably should. But do you agree? Again, it's early. It has to continue. But I'm more impressed with what he's doing now, Rob, because Golden State has so much other stuff. You didn't have just a Kyrie. You had a Steph and a Clay to worry about. Now, and they were a great team already, and he steps in there, and he was great, obviously. But now he is like not just the best player, but they can focus their defense on him. Giannis tried to guard him and had nothing for him. I'm just more impressed with this than anything I've seen him do.
Well, but that makes sense because the Warriors had won a championship already. The Nets organization hasn't won anything, right?
Right.
And they still got a ways to go. It ain't over. The Bucks are going to win a game or so. I just think the Nets.
Yeah, they might get a game.
They might get a game.
They might get 2. Chris. I picked them in 6. Brooklyn in 6.
Yeah,
so
they might.
See.
I mean, it just depends. Obviously, if Brooklyn wins game 3, it'll probably be over in 5.
Right.
But if Milwaukee wins and Brooklyn splits up there, then it probably will be 6 or something like that.
I mean, if Milwaukee gets the next 2, then hey, we got a series.
Right. We have a series, right? But I just, and then you look at Blake Griffin, Chris, like game 1, diving all over the place, making threes, hustling. I mean, making the extra pass. I mean, what didn't he do? He looked spectacular.
Shout out to Blake Griffin. Real talk. Because I mean, I almost think, Rob, first of all, give him credit. This is a guy that was a superstar.
Superstar in the
league. And probably, it's a good argument, but he could very well be a Hall of Famer. But he has accepted being a role player.
That's how guys
and
stick around.
And not only being a role player, Rob, but doing the dirty things. Like, he's not just, okay, it's not my team anymore. I'm going to get my 12 points.
Balls, Chris. How many stars dive for loose balls?
Right. That's the thing. And he is playing great. You remember, I mean, you saw him in Detroit. He did have a nice season or 2 there where he put up 20-plus points a game. He still clearly has some stuff left, but I think
he has some hop too still.
Right. He didn't dunk once in Detroit, but that had to be hard. Right? With the Clippers, he was, a competitive team virtually his whole time there. Yeah. And then going to Detroit where they're not any good at this point, that had to be tough for him and zap him of his energy. But I think, Rob, he also is cherishing not having to carry a team. Like not being, having the pressure of being the guy. And I'm not saying he didn't want the pressure. I'm just saying it has to be a bit relaxing, right? And a refreshing when you don't have to carry the team. And all the pressure is not on you to get it done. And so he's out there playing well.
But I will say this. I know everybody's trying to say, what's wrong with Milwaukee? And all the experts picked this to be a close series. And some people picked Milwaukee and said, the Nets can't beat them. Remember they lost the 2 games at the end of the year, Chris?
Right.
And
with KD and Durant. Kyrie and Durant.
Right. And we're like, look, the Nets can't stop them or whatever. But I think this story is more about Brooklyn and how well and skilled they are. And I'm not saying that Milwaukee's playing their game and just losing because they aren't playing that well and not shooting it well.
Right.
But a lot of that has to do with, even if they were shooting well, where the Nets are and what their level is, this is about the Nets. This isn't about, this
agree.
is more about the pluses of the Nets and the role players, Chris, and all the guys, and Joe Harris and Blake Griffin, and they don't even have Green, Chris. They're missing Harden and Green.
And Jeff Green.
Right? Jeff Green is a part of that team.
Jeff Green has had a great season.
Yes.
Yep. I agree with you. And I agree. This is telling about the Nets, how good they are. And obviously we know Kyrie and KD are tremendous. But their role players have accepted their roles. They're shooting well. They're finishing at the rim. And they're defending and hustling. Yes. So, but obviously, when you lose by 50 or 40,
they were down by
51, I think, 49, 51. A lot of it's you. And Rob, all we heard all season, oh, they got Drew Holiday. Chris Middleton's improved. And Chris Middleton has improved, and Drew Holiday is good. But, Rob, they don't have a big three. We're throwing around the term big three too loosely. Yep. They don't even have a big two. A big two or a big three is when you got two guys that are perennial all-stars and probably both going to the Hall of Fame. And only Giannis is going to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Chris Middleton and Drew, they're good on again, off again all-stars, right? They make a 1, 2, maybe 3 all-star team, something like that. Middleton's made 2, Drew's made 1. But they're not, they're not on Kyrie Irving's level.
No, Kyrie's a monster too. And Chris, he didn't have an okay game. You know what I mean? What do you have, 22 in game 2?
Yeah, 22 and 6 dimes.
But you know what I'm saying, right?
And but for some people, for good players, that's a great game.
Kyrie could have 39. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and he had 22.
It's a highlight every time he touches the rock.
Dude,
let's
what he
keep
does
it real.
is amazing.